The front door clicked open, a sound I'd grown to both anticipate and dread. It was the sound of her return, her carefree footsteps echoing in the hallway. Sarah, my wife, or as I'd recently come to know her, the woman who'd shattered the life we built together, piece by agonizing piece. I'd always prided myself on being observant, a quality that had served me well in my work as a detective. It was what had initially drawn me to Sarah. She was vibrant, yes, but beneath the surface, there was a complexity that intrigued me. Now it was that same observation that had led me down this agonizing path. I'd noticed the subtle changes first. The way she'd pull away when I'd reach for her in bed, the secretive smile she'd share with her phone, the late nights she claimed were work-related. At first, I dismissed them, attributed them to stress, to the mundane trials of married life. But the nagging doubt, the cold, insidious tendrils of suspicion, had taken root and wouldn't let go. So I'd started looking, not in a dramatic, accusatory way, but with the methodical patience I'd learned in my profession. I checked her phone records. Numbers I didn't recognize, texts laced with a saccharine sweetness that was never shared with me. I followed her, not in a fit of rage, but with a grim resolve. I wanted proof, concrete evidence that would either confirm my deepest fear or allow me to breathe freely again. And I got it, more than I bargained for. The image of her hand intertwined with another man's, their faces pressed together, burned itself into my memory. It wasn't just a kiss, not some momentary lapse in judgment. It was a full-blown affair, a meticulously crafted betrayal. The discovery wasn't sudden, but rather a slow, agonizing bleed. Each piece of evidence chipped away at my heart, at the foundations of our life. For weeks, I lived a double life. The man she thought she knew, the one who was silently drowning in her deceit. I played the role of a loving, unsuspecting husband, all the while crafting my plan. This wouldn't be a shouting match, not a scene filled with tears and recriminations. My pain demanded a different kind of justice. It would be cold, calculated, and undeniably devastating. The house was quiet, almost unnervingly so. I'd sent our son Leo to his grandparents for the weekend under the guise of a special treat. He was a sensitive boy, and I couldn't bear the thought of him witnessing any of this. Sarah had no idea. She'd been busy, lost in her own world, preoccupied with a man who wasn't me. I heard her keys jingle, the lock turn, and that familiar click of the door. She walked in, a bounce in her step, her face flushed with some unseen excitement. "Honey, I'm home," she called out, her voice a melody that now grated on my nerves. She didn't look at me. Her eyes darted around, searching for my presence. I was in the living room, the staging of my plan complete. I remained silent, watching her, letting her take in the scene I'd carefully orchestrated. I wasn't trying to be cruel, only to deliver a message she couldn't ignore. The first thing she noticed was a wall, the wall I'd dedicated to documenting her betrayal. It wasn't a haphazard collage of photos, but a meticulously arranged timeline. A large framed enlargement of the photograph I'd taken weeks ago, the one with her and her lover, surrounded by neat rows of printed transcript of their texts, bank statements showing her extravagant purchases for him, and phone records highlighting the frequency of their clandestine communications. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable, and laid bare for all to see. Sarah stopped dead in her tracks, her hand flying to her mouth as if to stifle a scream. The smile vanished from her face, replaced by a look of absolute horror. She didn't speak, didn't move, her eyes wide with a terror I'd never seen. She took a hesitant step closer, her gaze flitting between the evidence, as if hoping it would somehow vanish. I could see the color drain from her face, her cheeks turning a deathly white. "How? How did you?" she finally stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes met mine for a moment, and in them I saw the full weight of her actions. Fear, yes, but also a flicker of understanding, a moment of clarity. I saw," I said, my voice flat, devoid of any emotion. "I saw everything." She crumpled to the floor, her knees hitting the hardwood with a thud. The carefree woman had vanished, leaving behind a shell of fear and guilt. She buried her face in her hands, sobs racking her body. I watched her, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph, just a profound sadness. Please forgive me," she begged, her voice muffled through her hands. I don't know what came over me. It wasn't real. I swear I love you. I really do. Her words sounded hollow, empty, a desperate attempt to cling to a life she had so carelessly discarded. And that was the point, wasn't it? This was not about whether she loved me or not. It was about the fact she had been so willing to throw away the life we had built. Forgiveness isn't something you can ask for, I said, my voice still calm. It's something that has to be earned. I walked over to a small table, a table she'd never paid much attention to. It held a neatly organized folder, the contents of which were about to alter her life forever. I opened it, handing her the top sheet. These are the divorce papers. I explained, my gaze fixed on hers. I've already signed them. All that's left is for you to do the same. Everything is there, the division of assets, the custody arrangements, everything we agreed on as a couple, and I intend to honor that. I will also add that you will not be seeing Leo without supervision. You forfeited that right when you chose to betray our family. She looked at the document, her eyes scanning the legal jargon, a new wave of horror washing over her. No, she said, her voice cracking. This can't be happening. We can work through this. Please, I promise. Promises. I said, a hint of bitterness creeping into my tone. Those are just words, Sarah. Words are cheap. She started to cry again, the tears running down her face, blurring her mascara. She looked so broken, so defeated, and it would have moved me if I hadn't already drained myself dry of tears. She looked at me, searching for a sign of hope, a flicker of the love we once shared. But there was nothing, just a cold, indifferent gaze. I'd spent so long mourning the loss of the woman, I thought I knew that I had nothing left to give her now. I'm going to leave you to read through everything, I said, walking toward the door. I'll be back tomorrow for your signature. And Sarah, I paused at the doorway, turning to look at her one last time. Don't expect to find me here. I left her there, a crumpled figure on the floor, surrounded by the shattered remnants of her deceit. I walked out into the night, the silence behind me a testament to my victory, a victory tinged with the bitter taste of loss. I knew it was a risk to walk away from the house for the night, to not make sure she didn't try something or run. But I just didn't care anymore. I delivered my message, and now it was time to start building my life again, the life she'd so willingly tried to destroy. The night was long, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of peace. The pain was still there, a dull ache in my heart, but it was accompanied by a sense of closure. It was finally over, and tomorrow I would start again.